Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to continue to have a look at the latest on the risk of some substantial snow in places as we do head through the rest of this working week. Now through Thursday and Friday we are going to see an area of rain bumping into this cold air that is sinking southwards, and that rain is going to turn to snow across parts of the Midlands, North Wales and Northern England. Now, this is not a traditional cold spell. We've got cold air embedded in. So it does mean it is going to be very marginal, and elevation is going to help. A lot of the models do continue to disagree on the positioning of the weather front and on the precipitation typing. But one thing we are seeing for certain is that somewhere is going to see some quite heavy snow in that region that we just highlighted. Now, the weather warnings have been adjusted today. Nothing significantly changed, other than the fact that the area has just been trimmed slightly, which we did expect as certainty starts to increase. But certainty really has not increased that much, if I'm being completely honest. Still a couple of runs are even bringing some snow further southwards into southern England. Others are bringing that snow only in for parts of northern England and excluding the Midlands completely. So we'll have a look at the latest from the various short range runs, and then we'll continue to have a look at the latest on the longer range, as we are continuing to see substantial blocking appearing, but still the models in the longer range are all over the place, which is going to be expected considering that they're still uncertain on the next few days. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. And if you start on the live radar, you can see at the moment we've got this big wall of rain that is sinking southwards. It's a cold front, and you can see we've got this squall feature within it that you can see a little bit better as it's traced across northern Europe. So if you're in central southern England, parts of South Wales, into eastern England and southwest England, a very rainy night to come as this slowly drifts southwards. Not only is it persistent, but it is very heavy as well. Now behind it, we are seeing much colder air move in. You can even see a bit of wintriness on the back edge here across parts of northern England, the Peak Districts there. But really, the coldest air is only arriving up into Scotland now, where showers are starting to turn to snow. We do actually have a snow and ice warning issued for those showers. Now, this cold air will reach southern England through tomorrow, but really not putting too much into not really impacting those temperatures too much, as that milder air associated with the next band of rain for Thursday starts to quickly arrive. Now, it looks initially like it's going to sweep the cold air out of the way, but it actually takes quite a long time to push that cold air out, and that is where we could see significant accumulations. One thing that is looking likely, but not guaranteed, is that once the snow has fallen, many areas, especially low-lying areas, will see that precipitation turn back to rain, or at least see the temperatures start to rise above freezing, because we are expecting milder air to move in through the weekend. There were a few runs over the past few days and some agreement that cold air would stay in place, but it's now looking likely that mild air will break through at least until sort of southern Scotland. So areas in northern England could see substantial snow, but it will turn back to rain, or temperatures will rise as we head through Friday and Saturday. Now at the moment, if we put on the temperatures, you can see the temperature contrast, still very mild in the south, 10 to 12 degrees. Further north, it's cooling down, actually significantly cold across Scotland there, with temperatures widely down towards freezing. That sort of cold air, below average air, is going to come in for all, but really only the proper wintry air is going to get into sort of Midlands, Northern England, Midlands, Northern England, North Wales, northwards really. Further southwards than that, unless 90% of the models are wrong, then we aren't going to see any snow, or not going to see anything too major. Maybe a few runs have mentioned the Chilterns, where we've got elevation, of course, but most areas, I must emphasise, we're not expecting anything too wintry, apart from a slightly colder feel over the next few days, and perhaps a brief overnight frost through to Thursday. Now, if you look at the latest weather warnings, we've got this snow and ice warning issued across parts of northern and western Scotland from 3 p.m. this afternoon until midday tomorrow, again for wintry showers. Not expecting anything too crazy again. 1 to 3 centimetres widely across the warning zone, just for that array of showers that we saw, and maybe 5 to 8 centimetres over the higher ground. Again, nothing too unusual for parts of Scotland during winter. Medium likelihood lower end of the impact matrix. Through Wednesday, that snow and ice warning is still there, but into Thursday and Friday, we now have separate snow warnings issued, one for Northern Ireland and one issued for quite a large area of Northern England and North Wales. You can see, though, most of the Midlands has now been excluded, and that is because some of the models, especially earlier this morning, did shift that snow risk further northwards. But I would be sceptical of that, because this evening some of those runs have brought it southwards again. So if you have been removed from the snow warning area, especially sort of across the Midlands, North Midlands, then there is the risk that you actually get brought back into it in tomorrow's update. But it's from 6 a.m. on Thursday until 6 a.m. on Friday. Now, if I do have a look at this warning, it's the same warning for both Northern Ireland and England and Wales there. We're going to see a band of rain, sleet and increasingly snow push northwards on Thursday, bringing up to 2 centimetres at low levels, 2 to 5 centimetres on the ground, above 200 metres, perhaps 15 to 25 centimetres above 400 metres. The snow will ease later in the day and may turn back to rain or drizzle, especially in the south and the east of the area. As I've been continued to say, there is some massive uncertainty with respect to the rain-snow boundary and the northern limit of the snow. So details like this will probably change as confidence increases in these aspects. Again, medium impact, low likelihood, so that has not changed today, but I do suspect that could change tomorrow as the models start to agree a little bit more. Again, you see a huge array of snow totals from only a couple hundred metres change in elevation, and again, that's not down to difference in precipitation rates or anything like that, simply down to precipitation typings and temperatures. At ground level, sea level, we're likely to see temperatures around the 1 or 2 degree mark, and we're likely to see heavy snow at times, but perhaps turn to rain or sleet during lighter pulses. Whereas higher up, the temperatures will be a couple of degrees colder, more around the freezing mark, and generally will fall as snow the whole time. And that's the difference between 10, 15 centimetres and only dusting in places. So it is going to be highly variable. I continue to say this, the models do have half a degree to a degree of temperature deviation at the best of times, or temperature uncertainty at the best of times. And in times like this, where the temperature contrasts are so huge, could even be 2 or 3 degrees. So there is the risk that all the way until Thursday, we think rain, sleet in a certain area, and then it falls as snow, and vice versa. So it is going to be an outcast event. We can do all the model watching that we want, but we will not know exactly the outcome of this precipitation band in terms of its typings until the day. Very similar to what we saw in December 2017, 10th of December. I've done a video on that before, where many areas thought we were just getting a bit of rain and sleet, and in the end we actually saw a much larger swathe of snow. Now that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but just shows you the possibility is there. And I suspect this will be updated again tomorrow. Could even be an amber warning issued, especially for those higher ground areas of Northern England and North Wales, as we are going to see some really heavy snow there. The precipitation is very heavy. It's just all about that typing. Now, if you do have a look at the UKV, this does sort of illustrate it very well. You can see that precipitation band clearing southwards and eastwards. Through the early hours of the morning, it should have cleared most areas. And then we're going to see some heavy snow push into parts of northern and western Scotland. It is showery in nature, so it's going to be highly variable, the amounts. But most areas are going to see a centimetre or 2 in that warning zone. As we head into Wednesday, it's a much colder day, quite cloudy though, because we are starting to see precipitation push back in from the southwest. Most areas are average to below average, especially the further northwards you go, so it's going to feel chilly for all, but it's not actually going to be especially cold, if I'm being completely honest. Through the evening, we're going to start to see that rain approach from the southwest, and you can think it's just going to all be rain, but as it bumps into that cold air across parts of the Midlands, northern Wales, northern England, Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, it's going to increasingly turn to snow, especially through the morning hours. And you can see there is the risk that it turns to rain towards low-lying areas. Here, the UKV around lunchtime, really only giving snow to 100, 200 metres of elevation or up. As I said, marginal uncertainty, more of this could fall as snow or more of it could fall as rain. So it is highly, highly variable. And you can see eventually that precipitation band will push northwards, giving more and more snow. And then it looks likely to see a second band of precipitation. This band has got even milder air in, and because we've already swept some of that cold air away, it's likely to fall more as rain. So into Friday, really only the highest ground from the latest UKV at least will see snow. Most areas will start to see a mix or rain. So it's going to be a very messy pitch as this clears through, and there is the risk of some more substantial snow across Scotland where the cold air does remain. And you can see as we head into Sunday, Saturday and Sunday, we see more heavy rain around as we see Low pressure spiral around, but you can see the cold air has been pushed away. Some runs still keep it in, but I'd say the majority keep it further northwards or completely away like the UKV does here. You can see to Thursday morning the cold air does push southwards, 10 to 12 degree temperature contrast here, and that's why I said there is huge uncertainty in the exact temperatures, as you could be in -5 or you could be in +1. There could be a matter of a couple of miles between those sort of temperatures at this stage. And then through Thursday, you see the cold air slowly gets pushed northwards and eventually completely gets pushed northwards through Friday and Saturday before trying to return through Sunday into Monday. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, you can see overnight tonight temperatures dropping below freezing, widely in the north, but still pretty mild in the south. By tomorrow afternoon, all areas are average to below average, around the low single digits or freezing further northwards, maybe around that sort of 4 to 8 degree mark further southwards. And then overnight, many areas getting down to a frost, sort of in those areas that could see snow further southwards because that cloud is building in. Temperatures are unlikely to drop much lower. And then we see the precipitation move in, and we could see some really cold temperatures here. Daytime temperatures might not get much above freezing in many areas of northern England. Southern England, 13 degrees. So a huge temperature contrast there over the span of 100, 150 miles or so. And again, those temperatures are that cold because of the cloud and snow, of course, evaporative cooling, keeping those temperatures down. But you see the Friday, temperatures could be as high as 6 to 9 degrees where we'd seen snow only 12 hours prior. So we will have to just see exactly how those temperatures do alter, but it is highly volatile and highly uncertain at this stage. And then eventually into the latter parts of the weekend, still cold across Scotland, but turning milder further southwards and eastwards. Now, if you look at the latest R pairs, you see what that is showing. Again, as we progress into Thursday, you can start to see that precipitation band moving in, turning to heavy snow on its leading edge. And you see the snow is much further southwards here, even getting some towards London. Probably most likely only the Chilterns over the higher ground, but you couldn't rule it out, even to low-lying areas for a time through Thursday morning. Very interesting indeed, that moving in. But of course, that snow risk does shift northwards, but could still see a good swathe of snow there. Good 6 or 7 hours of snow, and likely would see settling where those temperatures have dropped below freezing the night prior. But then the secondary band of rain moves in, and you can see a lot more of it is rain. Less of it is snow, but still snow over the higher ground in the north for eventually sweeping the cold air away, and most areas see rain into the weekend. Now, if compared to the DWD icon, again, you see the precipitation band pushing in. Snow much further northwards here than the arpege, but similar to the UKV, I must say. Eventually pushing that cold air away, and then seeing more snow, but mainly confined to the hills as we head into the weekend. And then just more bands of heavy rain, so it could be really quite horrible into the weekend and start of next week. Now, if this setup was slightly colder, with slightly more blocking, then a lot of this could have fallen as snow. But it's looking most likely to be rain, as you can see those upper air temperatures. If we put those, if we put the 2 metre max temperature, you can see the cold air is further northwards. And actually, if we put the North Atlantic on, you can see the cold air is to our north and our west. Whereas for us, we're in a pocket of slightly milder air, still pretty chilly, but slightly above average. Slightly above what we'd require for snow, as we are seeing low pressures arrive from the south instead of sort of milling around on top of us like some of the runs had over the past few days. And that's because that block isn't quite as strong. Now, if we do talk about blocking, if we go and have a look at the longer range, if we start on the latest GFS, you can see those northerly winds trying to push in at the moment, but we haven't got substantial blocking, and that's why the low through Thursday doesn't require too much energy to push the cold air away, and that's why instead of the low pressure system we saw in January, which trended into France, this one is moving northwards because we haven't got that big block there. You can see the low pressure sort of mills around and actually does invite some milder air in, and the GFS, being the GFS, is flipping between very cold and very mild, and this run is actually pretty mild indeed. Now, it's not because the synoptics are terrible. There's lots of blocking around in the northern hemisphere, but it's this sort of stubborn low towards the south of Iceland. Doesn't go anywhere, and it basically keeps west to southwesterly winds in for the rest of the run. I wouldn't say it's completely anomalous, but most of the GFS ensembles are keeping us more around average or colder than average. So, yeah, GFS not got a clue really in the longer range. And we can see the massive disagreement because the GM does something completely opposite. Not even the same region of sort of weather patterns with the GM here. You can see again the low pressure moves in, very similar to the GFS, but look what happens here around day 7. High pressure builds in towards Scandinavia and tries to push in easterly winds. Now it's not a bitterly cold easterly because that high pressure isn't far enough northwards, but regardless, it's a lot chillier, a lot colder, and a lot drier than the GFS. Complete different ends of the spectrum. This is, I said, drier, colder. GFS is mild and very unsettled. And if we go back to the day 10 here from the GFS, look at the contrast. This is the GFS and this is the GM. Huge differences at day 10. You'd think they're looking at completely different time periods, but no, these are the same time frame. Just showing you the huge uncertainty. So if you see anyone posting any individual charts and saying this is what is going to happen, or mild weather's coming, or bitterly cold weather is coming, then you can see that the models are all over the place. I wouldn't believe any single deterministic run at this stage outside of the next 3 or 4 days, if I'm being completely honest. Now, if you compare to the ECMWF, again, low pressure pushing in off the Atlantic, bringing that risk of snow, and then eventually as we head towards day 10, we see something kind of in between the GFS and the GM, if I'm being completely honest. We see high pressure building up towards Scandinavia, but lows still out in the Atlantic. So it looks like it could be a bit of a battle between cold air moving in from the northeast and milder, wet conditions coming in from the southwest. Initially, it looks like the mild air will win, but do watch out across parts of Eastern Europe and Russia, this big wedge of very cold air that is trying to push our way. You can see the winds are trying to move it our way. If you look at the edge of THP streamlines, you can see the air is trying to move our way, and it is going to be one to watch, as that could be a recipe for a sort of beast from the east type pattern towards the end of February. But again, we are clutching at straws there, being the extended range. Now, if you finish by looking at the latest ensembles, the latest GFS, again, we'll just have a look at London here, because if I'm being completely honest, the ensembles are not going to be too helpful in the next couple of days because they're not high resolution and the longer range is all over the place. So, to be honest, we're just looking at them really just to highlight the uncertainty. You can see over the next week, London is generally going to be average to above average before trending slightly below average as we head into next week, as we do see cold air starting to dip in, but really nothing too crazy at this stage. But beyond that, we see massive spread. We see some runs like the GFS operational going very mild, others going very cold. Really have no idea. There's no huge precipitation signal, but there's no minimal precipitation signal. So again, doesn't give us a lot of confidence on what those exact pressure patterns will be. The dew points, again, all over the place, some very cold runs, some very mild runs. And if we have a look at the sea level pressure, you can see they do kind of rise. So higher pressure more favoured, but it's still around the 1010, 1020 millibars, so it's not definitive high pressure, but it's not definitive low pressure either. So it is going to be one to keep a very close eye on it in the longer range, but if I'm being completely honest, we've not got a Scooby what is going to happen. The models are all over the place, as I continue to say. If you look at the latest ECMWF ensembles, the midday run hasn't fully come out, so we'll have a look at the midnight run. And again, very similar to the GFS, where it is very scattered. There is a bit more consistency that it could be cooler in the longer term, a lot more colder runs appearing here. So perhaps ECMWF still on board with that risk of that blocking, which is definitely the longer term signal that I'm seeing from a lot of the longer range charts, which is something we'll have a look in detail through this weekend. So I've got a couple videos lined up where we can have a look at the longer range, as the longer range continues to show very cold patterns, but never quite evolves in sort of the 5, 6, 7 day time frame. Perhaps could it as we head into the end of the month. But, of course, the ECMWF could be suggesting that, but nothing definitive at this stage. So it's going to be one to keep a very close eye on that longer range over the next sort of few days. I suspect it's not going to resolve for a while. We've got to get through the next couple of days of snow risk, really, before we can start to say the long term with any certainty. Because as I continue to say, we haven't still got an exact idea on what is going to happen with the snow through Thursday. So we're not going to have a much better idea what's going to be happening, as I said, into the following weeks if we can't figure out the next few days. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Make sure you stay tuned. Of course, I'll keep you updated on the risk of heavy snow through Thursday. Again, it's mainly going to be a hills event, maybe low-lying areas, depending on those exact temperatures. And it's going to be very much a nowcast situation. But if we do see any major updates in the next 24 hours, of course, I'll be there to bring them to you. But even a potential, as I said, for an amber warning. Of course, we'll have that in tomorrow's video. So as I said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.